Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today's video, I'm just going to dive right into it. I already pre-recorded this yesterday and it went on for over 50 minutes. So I'm trying to condense it down. I'm trying to really give as much information as I can without going into rambles, which is very hard for me to do. So I have written down a list of primarily what I want to talk about and stick to, give you guys kind of the meat of everything. If you have further questions, feel free to message me. You can find me, and I gotta stop saying we know this. You can find me on Instagram, MIZKELTON16, or feel free to message me here on YouTube or Facebook. Might hear my animals in the background. They made a mess while I was at work. I haven't had time to clean it up yet, so yeah, it's great. But before we jump into this video, this is going to be my review, kind of my overview of my time in South Africa, Care for Wild, African conservation experience, working with everybody, and just what I did while I was there, and just really giving you guys information. If you find this video because you're thinking about going to Care for Wild, or you're thinking about, volunteering or going to Africa or whatever, sorry, I have like a loose hair, it's bothering me. I highly recommend you do it. Do not hesitate, just do it. It was definitely one of the best experiences of my life besides getting married and having children, one child. But it was amazing. So first and foremost, everything in this video is my opinion, my perception. It is my my feelings and just what I've gone through with everything. Second, do your research. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with nonprofits, when you're dealing with charity, when you're dealing with conservation in general, there is a lot of scams out there. Not even just people like traveling to go do conservation. There's a lot of people who will scam you to try and get you to donate money, things like that. Just be very careful. Do your research. I might cry during this video. I'm sorry. This was a very emotional trip for me, for a couple of obvious reasons, which I'll get into later. And also, if you are wanting to go to Care for Wild, or you are wanting to get involved in conservation to go play with animals all day, if you think you're going to go work hands-on a lot with these animals, you're dead wrong, and do not go on this trip if that's what you're thinking. This is for people really interested in conservation. It is hands-off. We got to touch the baby rhinos when we fed them, and that was it. There was some baby diapers we got to feed, which are a type of antelope, deer, I'm not really too sure, I don't remember. Got to touch them and, play with them a little bit while we bottle fed them. But that is it. Everything is hands-off. You don't get to touch big rhinos. You don't get to, really get up close with the lions. They had some leopard cubs that they had gotten before I got there, that they are going to be rehabilitating in a couple months. Very hands-off. We didn't even get to bottle feed those. Those have to get bottle fed sometimes. I'm not sure when they're going to stop bottle feeding. Anyways, I'm rambling again. It's hands-off. So don't go there expecting to work with rhinos all day long and just pet them and love them. No, it's not why you're there. So I just want to put that out there. Care for Wild is doing such a great, amazing thing. If you really want to learn about rhino conservation, I highly recommend you come here. I highly recommend you check out African Conservation Experience, just because they had a lot of good information. They also helped invest in Care for Wild to get them up and started, and so I highly recommend them. I have nothing but great things to say about both companies and organizations, so there's that to start with. Also, when I talk about baby rhinos are not there because they have been bred in captivity. They are not there because they were bought. They were not there for any other reason than the simple fact that their parents were poached and they are orphans. They don't have parents. A lot of times when Care for Wild gets babies in, it's because there was a poaching incident. They found the body of the parent, and then they find a baby nearby. Sometimes they find babies wandering around by themselves. They don't find the parent until later. These animals are not there because they were bred there or anything like that. I've gotten asked that a couple of times. No. They are trying to do artificial insemination. The day that I arrived, again, a little off track, but I'll get back. This is just kind of a side note. The day that I got there, they did the first artificial insemination for the southern white rhino that I guess has ever been done in history. I unfortunately missed it because I had gotten there after. but it was done the day that I got there. So if the surrogacy does take in the in vitro artificial, whatever it is, if it goes through, I would actually like to go back. I'll have to talk to my husband about it, but I would like to go back after the babies are born to go see everything. So that was really special. So with that being said, also intensive protective zone, which you might hear me talk about with Care for Wild, it's land within the sanctuary grounds. The sanctuary was huge, I will say that. I don't know exactly how big it was. It felt like a couple of square miles. It may have been bigger, it may have been smaller. I know they're expanding. Excuse me. So they have, I'll get into the animals that they have and stuff, but they were very large. So the intensive protective zones are where the bigger rhinos are able to go out after they've been rehabilitated as orphans, and they can roam free. They're not in like an enclosed bomba. Yes, eventually the intensive protective zone ends, but it's very, very large. Yeah, so let's get into it. So I went to South Africa a couple weeks ago. I left on a Sunday night. I arrived at Tuesday morning, the local time there. And side note, my pig is about to drive me nuts. Piggles, come here. Piggles, get in here. You knocked over the trash can and it's pulvering through it. Come on. Come on. Come on, let me get in here so I don't have to hear you going through trash. Okay, thank you. I have a little door right here that separates the kitchen from the living room. Anyways. You hush. So, where was I? I don't remember. So I left Sunday night, got there Tuesday morning, and it was their local time. So it took me, it was about 21 to 22 hours of flying total. I had a 4.5-hour layover in England. Really cool. Went shopping, got souvenirs, had some British food. It was wonderful. Didn't leave the airport. I didn't sit next to anybody on my way to England on the airplane. I hope he doesn't try and go through the hallway. Sorry. Didn't sit next to anybody going to England. From England to South Africa, I sat next to, there was one person on one side and then nobody on the other side. That was a really hard flight just because it was another overnight, but with the time differences, it was still like daytime over here. So trying to adjust, South Africa was 9 hours ahead. So with it being 2 overnight flights, it was a little bit easier to kind of ease into the transition. So I didn't really have too hard of a time adjusting to the time zones. It was just very jet lagging on your body with you not realizing it. And I'll get into that in a second too as well. Piggles. Piggles. Okay, thank you. So arrived in South Africa at 7 a.m. I met Natalie with African Conservation Experience. So we went through, I got my passport checked in with the country, went through border control, all of that, got my bag. All of that was super quick. It didn't take very long at all. I went through the arrivals hall where African Conservation Experience said they would be. I met Natalie. We waited for a couple of the other volunteers. They all got there within a few minutes. And one of the other girls I had already reached out to before the trip, because we had checked off to have our information released to other people who were traveling at the same time as us. We didn't even realize we were on the same flight. We thought we were just getting there the same day. So that was cool. African Conservation Experience helped us get money. They helped us. I didn't need a SIM card, but they pointed us in the direction if we needed a local SIM card. T-Mobile was great while I was there. We got to ask questions, get questions answered. And sorry, I'm like trying to go through this because there's a lot to get through. And I gotta stop saying I'm so sorry. It's just a habit. So what did we do? Did all that. They bought breakfast. African Conservation Experience did. Now you do pay to volunteer. I've mentioned this before. Just as a side note, I've heard a lot of people kind of talk smack or negatively about paying to volunteer. I'm sorry. If you think that, you need to educate yourself. There's a lot of great volunteer opportunities where, yeah, you do pay to go volunteer. Care for Wild is not open to the public. They don't sell these t-shirts online. The only way to get one of these is to go there and volunteer and buy one from them. So, a lot of these opportunities, yeah, you have to pay for because it covers, I got a t-shirt from African Conservation Experience. I got my breakfast, obviously. Best coffee I've ever had was at that little cafe. Oh my God, it was so good. It covers your transportation. So after we met, we had our little orientation breakfast. She showed us, where the shuttles and, cabs and stuff pick up. And so we went over there. There's a shuttle that she checks us into. So they already have purchased your shuttle pass. They've already gotten everything arranged for you. Once you get to the sanctuary, you have 3 meals a day. You have a cabin that you stay in. So you paying to volunteer is just like paying to go stay at a hotel or anywhere else, kind of. It's paying for your accommodations. And then money also goes back into the travel organization, and it also goes back into the sanctuary. Now, like I said, the travel organization has helped build the sanctuary up from what I learned, and they were an investment when the sanctuary first started. So I don't mind paying to volunteer. I think it's great. I had no issues with it. It was fine. So we got checked into our shuttle. It was a 3.5-hour drive from the airport to the nearest city by the sanctuary. So me and my friend that I made, Becky, shout out to you, girl, if you watch this. Miss you. Hope you're doing good. We chit-chatted. She's from the UK, and so it was fun to talk like, oh, what does the UK people think about this? Well, what does the US think about that? Like, that was a lot of fun, which helped pass the time a lot, actually. And so get to the shuttle fleet place, wherever, somebody from Care for Wild, or that's contracted with Care for Wild, not really too sure, he picked us up, and then it was about another 35-minute drive to the actual sanctuary. I'm not going to mention location. I'm not going to mention anywhere where I was or anything like that, for obvious safety reasons for the animals and the people that protect them. I was in South Africa. I was in the middle of the African bush, I will tell you that. You can also see pictures on my Instagram if you would like. I'm going to try and put them at the end of this video if you want to see pictures. No promises, though. I don't know if my video software does that. I do all of this on my phone. But anyways, you get to Care for Wild. You get a packet of information. You get 2 packets. So one packet that you sign, one packet that you get to keep. And you basically, obvious, no drugs, no alcohol. They just kind of go through the different teams that you might be doing, or the different activities you might be doing. Now, when I went, it was during their off season. I went in the middle of their summertime. So there was only 4 other volunteers. It was me, Becky, and then 3 other people. There was one lady from Chile, there was one lady from Norway, there was another lady from New Jersey. So it was just the 5 of us, and I think they normally have between 15 and 20 or 25 volunteers, but because it's hot and it's summertime, there's no air conditioning, girlfriend. There is no accommodation like that. There's hot water, but it's very, very limited, and with it being summertime, you did not want hot water anyways, so that was fine. So we just went over that kind of stuff. So we didn't really get split into teams. We all just kind of did the same thing. And I'll talk about my day-to-day activities in a little bit. So signed the paperwork, went over everything, got kind of a small tour. So there's the volunteer village, which is where all the volunteer cabins are. I think there was 7 to 10 cabins. I'm not exactly sure. So each one of us basically had our own cabin. I'm going into detail just because I know when I was trying to look for people who have done this experience before, I couldn't really find anything other than reviews on the travel agency's website, and then maybe a couple of random blogs I found online. So I'm really trying to go into detail for those people who might be going on this type of conservation experience, or who might be going through African conservation experience or whatever, or who might just be going to Care for Wild in general through another agency. So hopefully this will give you a little bit of insight to everything. So there wasn't that many people. We all each had basically our own cabin, and there's 2 bunk beds in the cabin, and then you've got a shower, your sink, and a toilet. There's some bookshelves in there so you can unpack a little bit, put your stuff up. I was the only person staying for 1 week. A lot of people were staying for 2 or 3 weeks. My friend Becky was staying for 8 weeks, and then there was another lady that was staying for 6 weeks or 7 weeks, and she was on her last week when we had gotten there. There was another girl from Australia, also shout out to you, hope you're doing well, who I made friends with, and she was so sweet. She was somebody who really helped me along with my anxiety, and I'll get into that in a second too as well. So I was able to make friends from all around the world, and hopefully I can reconnect with you guys later on in life. Maybe do a volunteer project in Australia or the UK. But so there was only 6 people the first day, and then my second day, which was my first full day, she went home, and then there was the 5 of us. So it was a little different, but the first night we got there, we were able to go on just kind of a drive around the sanctuary, just kind of get a tour of everything. There's the volunteer cabins in one area. along with what's called the stone house, and that's where you like eat and chill and just kind of relax in your off time. There's the barn, which is where they have like refrigerators for the lion meat. It's like a meeting area where you go to every morning. There's a sanctuary owner's house, there's the hippo enclosure, there's a lion enclosure, there's a couple of other enclosures. And so they all of that's in one area, and then you go down maybe about a quarter of a mile, a third of a mile, and then there's like the baby rhino area, like their bomas and enclosures. That's what they call enclosures in Africa, are the bomas. And then there's another area for them that they're all enclosed in. And then the rest of the sanctuary is pretty much open for the bigger rhinos, and then some of the other animals. So we went on the game drive. We released a python. So there was a python that had gotten caught in a farmer's chicken coop. Couldn't get back out because he was too fat after eating the chicken. Injured himself on the fence. Farmer called Care for Wild. They took him in, got him healed up. We got to go see him be released. So that was pretty cool. That happened the first night. Some of the animals. So I'm going to get into what I saw. I did not see elephants because the terrain was not the right terrain for elephants, and they weren't set up to house elephants. They've gotten elephants, but they usually end up getting transferred after a few days of intensive care. Once they're settled down and good, they usually go to an elephant rehabilitation center. I've talked about Herd before. They are an extension of Hode's Pruitt Endangered Species Center, so I know Care for Wild has helped them with elephants that they've gotten and transferring them over there. So no, I didn't see any elephants, but there was giraffes at the sanctuary that walked around in the protected zones. There was warthogs. I saw a family of warthogs a couple times, little babies with them. There was wildebeest. I saw baby wildebeest. There was nyala. I saw baby nyala. There was different kinds of like antelope deer. I don't know the correct term for them. What else did I see? There was baboons. I saw baby baboons too. Baboons are vicious from what I was told. I saw the lions that they have as residents, and then I saw the hippos that they have as residents. I also saw the leopard cubs. Did not get to handle them or touch them at all. Really wanted to because they were so cute. But no, got to see them. And then, what else? I think that's really all that I saw. I basically saw everything though. There's a leopard, I guess that's in the area, but they don't see it very often. Other than that, I will get into the snakes. I'm going to go ahead and talk about that now and just get that done and over with. It was summertime, obviously. I'm here in the desert. I've never seen a wild snake before. I know that they're here. Usually you hear rattlesnakes out here before you even see one anyways. I saw more snakes in Africa than I've ever seen in my entire life here in Arizona. But that's not a bad thing, let me tell you. So there was one snake I saw. It was a few yards ahead of me. I was walking up the trail and it saw me and it booked it. It was like, "Bah, Felicia, I want nothing to do with you." That's how all the snakes were. There was a snake that was caught in the stone house. It ended up being a cobra. Nobody was hurt. It was fine. They ended up catching it. And then a couple days after that, there was another snake that I saw on the trail leading up to like the cabins. And it saw me and it went up like under my cabin. So the cabins are on stilts. They're not just like sitting on the ground. The cabins are on stilts. And so it saw me. It was like, "Oh crap, gotta go." And it did the same thing. And you hear them because they're like trying to get away from you so fast. So you hear them. I saw it, it slithered away under the cabin, but then it stopped under the cabin and kind of like stood up to kind of like look around, And I'm like, "Snake!" I'm like, they already found a cobra in the stone house. Like, I'm like, "What?" And so one of the other, Becky, came over and she's like, "Okay, you go get one of the people." So I ended up getting one of the people, and he came and he was able to find the snake, and it was a spitting cobra. I actually have it on video. I have not posted the video. I might post the video on my Instagram. But he ended up catching the snake. Shout out to Henny. God, I don't know what I would have done. I would have been fine. The snake would have ran away, and I would have been just fine. But it was really cool. Henny also did a presentation for us on scorpions and things like that, other bugs and stuff that are native to South Africa, so that was interesting. And so yeah, I saw quite a few snakes. I saw a spitting cobra. It was spitting venom at him. His shirt was covered in venom afterwards, and he was able to rehabilitate the snake later. But You know, I'm terrified of snakes. I hate snakes. This was probably the highlight of going to Africa, honestly. Besides touching the rhinos, don't get me wrong here, the baby rhinos, and I'll get into that too. So, I hate snakes. I'm terrified of them. I have a phobia with worms. I don't know what it is. Anyways, so snakes just really remind me of them. I'm petrified of snakes. I hate snakes. But you know what? The minute they see you, they're like, psh, bah! Like they literally want nothing to do with you. So if you have a phobia of snakes, if you're weirded out by snakes or bugs, don't let that stop you from going, because really the snakes want nothing to do with you. From what I was told, they haven't had any incidences with snakes and people. And I was actually told that they haven't really seen this many snakes in such a short amount of time. But I did go and there was a heat wave, so that may have had something to do with it. You know, I'm not really too sure, but it was really interesting for sure. It makes some good stories to tell back at home. It was a lot of fun. A little frightening in the moment, but you know, you get over it and you continue about your day. Let me tell you, the real threat in South Africa was the damn ticks. So the minute we got picked up from the fleet and we were driving to the sanctuary, the one guy was like, okay, make sure you've got your bug spray, make sure you're good, because we've had a couple people get bitten by ticks and have gotten sick from it. I mean, nobody, you know, nothing too serious, but you just gotta be careful. So you gotta spray your legs down, wear long pants, wear big long socks, whatever. So ticks are what you really need to look out for. I didn't get bit by anything. I didn't have any ticks. I didn't have any issues. I was wearing ton of bug spray, ton of sunscreen. My poor face got so clogged from all the greasy sunscreen I was wearing. Do not take stick sunscreen. God, how many times can I mess up? Take lotion sunscreen. It will be much better. So ticks are really what you want to watch out for. I was so scared about malaria and mosquitoes. Like, I got anti-malaria medicine. I got this giant pop-up mosquito net to take. Where were the mosquitoes? There was no mosquitoes. I got bit by nothing. I didn't have any issues. I did get a little bit of a heat rash from working outside and sweating and being in the sun, obviously. Didn't really get sunburned, so it was good. It was really good. Also, side note, a lot of people ask me, oh, did you feel safe? Blah, blah, blah. Yes, I felt safe. Africa was fine. South Africa was actually very industrialized and westernized from what I could see. It was similar to the U.S. I felt fine. Besides the dang ticks, I felt fine. So safety wasn't an issue for me. If you're worried, I've had a couple people message me. There was a lady that actually just messaged me the other day after I did a review on Facebook, and she was like, hey, my daughter's going. Did you feel safe? What were you worried about? I was like, just take bug spray and you should be good. Like, I didn't fear for my safety at all. Everything was fine. So, yeah, it was good. Other than that, getting back into the story. So, first day, I'll talk about, and then I'll